we're walking over this log, and all of a sudden my dog just starts like kicking and jumped up in the air. I'm just like, what's going on, girl? Like, did she like tweak her paw or something? And all of a sudden I heard buzzing. And before I knew it, I was getting stung by bees. I mean, left and right. So we run out of the swamp. I'm trying to grab Daisy.
Welcome to the Nose Nose Game Recovery Podcast, where we interview and have discussions with real trackers and get to hear the unique stories of them tracking with their dogs for hunters. We are going to mainly focus on the real stories and then a little bit on training. So if you guys have any questions that you'd like the trackers to answer, please ask them in the comments, and I will try and ask the next tracker that's on these questions. If you are a tracker and would like to be on the podcast and have some unique stories, please reach out. I'd love to have anybody on. Thank you. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps the channel out. Perfect. Josh will yell at me if I don't do this. So welcome to the Nose Nose Game Recovery. And you go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, and what kind of breed of dog you run.
I'm Billy Clemente. I'm a tracker out of central Wisconsin. My tracking company is named the Huntwrights. We have a YouTube channel, Facebook channel. I've been tracking for 3 years now. I have a 3-year-old Labrador Retriever, and I am training / I have ran him last year, a 1-year-old Wirehaired Dachshund.
Wow. Why did you
And
start the Dash Hound? Why having the
um
lab so young?
um I kind of wanted a backup dog. I wanted to kind of always run 2 dogs. My lab doesn't do so well in the heat. She gets pretty hot. She's definitely made for colder weather. And my wife is a dog nut just like me. And we had a puppy come on Facebook last year from Thaddeus over in Maryland, and Bree fell in love with the puppy and said we got to get him. I said, all right. So she's training
Yeah,
him,
I
I'm
understand
training
that.
him. That way we can both track deer. It's not just something just for me. It's definitely a family ordeal. And then we are actually working on purchasing a drone right now. So we'll be
Really?
one of the few dog and drone teams in Wisconsin. There's a couple of guys that I know of right now that do it, but it's definitely going to be a niche here in central Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the one of two, I think, in Missouri right now. I'm the only one that advertises for it. But our drone page kicked me off of their group because I had a dog. So, but I don't really like flying the drone personally. I'm a dog guy in and out. So,
Right.
I think I only flew the drone on 3 tracks this year. 3 or 4. And one of them, the guy wouldn't let me run my dogs at all. He called me and said drones only, liver shot, probably 130, 140 inch buck. And I never found it with the drone. I begged him to let me run my dogs, and he wouldn't. So he wasn't supposed to be hunting the subdivision he was in.
Mm.
HOA rules.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason for me wanting to pick up the drone is we have a lot of smaller sections of property here, and I run into property lines quite a bit, and people don't
Yeah.
like dogs on other people's land. And then, you know it as well as I do is 60% of the deer you track are probably still alive. And I've jumped a bunch. I've had to have my buddies that I know that operate drones come out after I left. So I just want to be able to offer the same service and just kind of be an all-around, just one-stop shop. I love all the drone guys around
Right.
me. They all treat me really well. They give me a lot of tracks. They're they're good dudes, and I'm not competition at all. There's plenty of searches and tracks to go around. So I just out there to help people and find their deer.
Yeah, I get it. And some hunters wanted that visual confirmation, you know, and if they're willing to pay for it, I always tell them I charge more for the drone than the dog, but I trust my dog.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I'm a dog guy through
well,
and through, and I'll always run my dogs first. Like, I'm going to offer the dogs first. I'm going to try it for the dogs first because not only if I find your deer right away will it be cheaper, but if I run into problems with either property lines or I jump it, we still have that option available. So, but
Right, right.
definitely dogs first.
Well, how'd you get into the dog tracking?
Um, I've kind of always been a dog person. About, I would say 15 years ago now, my dad shot a deer and had a tecal come out for him. And that was kind of my only experience with it for a really long time. And then I'm a millwright by trade, so I'm an industrial mechanic, and I traveled the country a lot. And about 4 years ago, I got a office job associated with it, and so now I'm home a little bit more. I still travel a decent amount, but I'm home a little bit more. So I've always wanted to get into it. Just the job that I had, it just didn't really suit well for
Work
it,
out.
and it wasn't fair to a dog. And so now I got the lab because I wanted kind of just that versatile breed, where if I wanted to take her upland hunting, I could take her upland hunting. If I wanted to just teach her good basic obedience work, that foundation was definitely going to be laid before I started the tracking training. So I went with the Labrador Retriever just for the versatility of it. Um, don't regret it at all. She's awesome. She taught me a lot about training dogs. She taught me a lot about laying a good foundation. She's so obedient. She's very, very sweet. She's a great dog. She's a great tracking dog. I wish I would have done with her a little bit more with her on like her first year. I ended up picking her up on November 2nd of 2022. So I was right in the heat of rut and like she was 6 days old and I shot a deer and I didn't put her on it, but I really wish I would have probably done some more stuff with her as a puppy, but I laid a really good foundation with her for her first 6 months on obedience, and then the day she turned 6 months old is when I put a hoof in front of her. So
Yeah.
she's been great.
Yeah, I mean my pit, I didn't even put her on a deer till she was 5, and we didn't start training till she was 7. And she still turned into a really good tracking dog.
Hmm.
So I mean, it took a little bit of work. But I'm a full believer. You can get any dog to track if you're willing to put the work in. But
Hmm.
starting at 6 months, man,
Absolutely.
you're still ingrained in that dog. So
Right.
yeah. So how was your first season with that dog?
First season we didn't do a lot because I wasn't confident, and I wish I would have probably put her in some more difficult
Yeah.
situations. I put her on a lot of slam dunks and she did great. I took a couple calls from the public. I was still pretty new to the tracking stuff, and she did okay. And the couple deer we didn't find were actually still alive, so that made me feel a little bit better. So we only did like 8 tracks our first year. Um,
Yeah.
After that, I just dove so deep into just advertising, getting word of mouth, talking to people about it, and then we went to our second year, which was like our second full year, I want to say, and we did what was the number last year? 22. We did 22 tracks. I had found 15 of them deer, and the 7 we didn't find. It was just they were either alive or I just don't know what happened. But out of the 15, we had some pretty
Right.
cool uh, longer tracks, some ones with 24 hours in rain. A lot of rain ones. I get quite a bit of calls for rain in the fall. And then this last year,
Yeah.
being our third year, we took just over 40. There was 42 tracks, and I found 21 of them deer.
Nice. Yeah. Solid years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got a favorite track?
Um, Probably my favorite track came from this year, actually. It was during our rifle season, which happens during Thanksgiving week. We ended up getting a snowstorm about midweek. I had vacation for work, so I was off anyways. It was super windy out, just snowing like crazy. I was staying home with my wife and son, and guy I used to work with called me and said, "Hey, my son shot a deer this morning, and with the snow right now, I can't see any blood, and I knew that you had a tracking dog. You want to come out?" I said, "Sure, absolutely." Talked to my wife about it. We just took our time on the way there. It was just under an hour drive, but didn't matter for me. It was a 13-year-old kid, and put my dog down on it. Uh, he took me to to First Blood. We went through this super nasty, thorny bush forest. I mean, everything in there wanted to hurt you. And we got about 150 yards into the track, and with it snowing so hard, I could just barely see any of the blood that was there. And we were walking around this thorn bush, and my dog just plowed right into it. I couldn't get through it, but she just dove deep into it. And I noticed if I walked around this big thorn bush, I could stand on this stump and see if that deer was actually inside that thorn bush. So I'm standing on this thorn bush. I still got the lead in my hand. I'm kind of watching her through the bush, and all of a sudden I just see the tops of the trees going. I'm just like, well, what is that? Maybe I'm like, I don't think I jumped them. So I dove headfirst into this bush. I luckily I've got Dan's gear, chaps, and otherwise I would have ripped my jeans to shreds. I got in there and I found a fresh bed that had no snow on it, but had no blood in it. So I'm like, well, maybe there's just a deer in the bush. So we get out. I'm just walking out of this bush, and all of a sudden I hear a rifle shot go off from the neighbors. And I'm like, I call the dad, and I'm like, hey, your neighbors know I'm out here, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's got permission. They know you're tracking. Like, just don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, sounds good, and I try to always verify people have permission by just asking them what their neighbors' names are. And he nailed it, so I wasn't too worried. We get back on this track, and my dog's following right where that deer was heading towards, right where that rifle shot came from. And about another 300 yards later, here I find this deer laying there. And I just, I'm hooting and hollering in the woods. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, I just shot that deer. And I look up, and about 90 yards away is a rifle stand. And a guy climbing out of his rifle stand. I'm like, oh, okay, I think I just tracked this deer for your neighbor. And he goes, well, hold on, I'm registering it right now. I said, I'm sorry, sir. I said, you can do whatever you want. Like, this is none of my business, but I'm just letting you know I tracked this for like a 13-year-old boy, and I just want to make sure that there's only one rifle hole in there. And we went and checked. There's two holes in this deer. There's one low in the guts, and then one where he drilled it and dropped this deer. The one low
Yeah.
in the guts looked like it came out of an AR platform, and I called the dad and I said, "Hey, I'm just letting you know your neighbor shot the deer, but just come over here and we'll get it all figured out." So Hunter comes up, I'm talking with him, and I'm just like, "It's none of my business what happens here. Like, whatever you want to do is up to you. Like, I'm just here to track the deer, and I found it. My dog's happy, I'm happy." He goes, "This is his deer. Like, he shot it first. This is his." So like, not only is finding a deer for the youth cool, but having it run towards the neighbors when I didn't even know it, and then the neighbor finishing it off, the neighbor giving it back to the hunter, like that stuff's super special. Like
Yeah.
to just be neighborly like that, and that's definitely one that I'm gonna remember for a really long time. That's probably
Yeah,
one of my favorite tracks for sure.
yeah, that's really really cool, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast because you don't get to hear a lot of individual stories because no tracker has the same stories. So like
Mm-mm.
that's a really cool one. That is really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
You wow. So did you the dog get real hot when you jumped it? Start
She
yanking you
didn't
through the
get.
woods?
She didn't. Yeah, I mean, she started yanking me through the woods, and I'm like, I'll follow you to the end of the earth, girl, because like there's gonna be a dead deer laying at the end of it. Like I don't care. We could go for a mile like this. Like you're on it. And it was snowing so hard. I never seen a track. I never saw a drop of blood. Nothing. But I knew just on her behavior that we're on it. Like this is a no doubter.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yep,
Those are some good scenting conditions too. I mean, I know you can't see anything and you're just trusting the dog, but scenting condition wise, that's good scenting conditions.
yep. I love the snow. I love the
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah, man, I don't think yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever had a track that someone else shot as I was tracking it. That's I actually know I've had one. Um and the youth it was another youth hunter shot at the same deer. But the second youth hunter missed. Um, and that one, you can't tell real well in the video, but um, as I was coming over the hill, I seen the hunters on the edge of the field. I didn't see the deer, but I'm kind of going through the field kind of cautiously, and as I'm coming over the hill, I watched the youth hunter pick the gun up, turn towards my direction in a sense, and I don't think it was his dad. I think it was just a family member is sitting there on his cell phone, not paying attention to the kid at all, and the kid just shoots. Never once. And I mean, this kid is probably 6 years old, 7 years old. And like, oh man, I was so mad at that guy because like, how are you not paying attention to a 6 year old and seeing which way he's shooting? Like, that's why you're there. Like, man. But it was a basket eight. I came back up the next day. We gave it 24 more hours. The hunter I was actually tracking for, we had bone at the hit site. So we knew he just demolished a leg. That's the only bone you're going to find is leg bone. But we were thinking that the deer was quartering to a little bit at a pretty angled shot. So we were thinking that it was like liver, gut, exit, rear leg. So that's what we were really trying to figure out. But we tracked that deer and we jumped it again another 24 hours later with new fresh blood. And I kind of told him, I was like, at this point, I think your deer would be dead if it was dead. We're just kind of harassing him at this point. So that's when we called that track. But yeah, man, that's cool. We've had I had one that was real bad. It's the only time I've had not. It's the only time I've had a gun pointed at me. Um, we were I do a lot of like suburban tracking, and this one was an HOA environment, and they had community ground, and you could hunt community ground, but like you only owned your yard. So we come out of the community ground, and like we're standing on the edge of this guy's backyard, and he's probably 60 years old in his shorts coming out in December, November, December time. Yeah, it was December. It was our shock or like our firearm season in December. But he came out and he's pointing a pistol right at me. I mean, just dead to rights. And I'm on the community ground, but at the line. And he's yelling and stuff like, "Sir, we're just looking for a deer." And he's like, "There's no hunting on my property." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not on your property yet. The deer went through here." And he's like, "I'm not allowing hunting." I said, "We're not hunting. We're just trying to make sure the deer doesn't suffer." And when I said that, he just dropped the pistol and says, "Well, go find it. Go get it. Don't let it suffer." And I was like, "Okay." So it was nice that he did that, but yeah, that was a sketchy one. Um, and he was very anti-hunter. We actually had to restart that dog 2 times in that yard. I had to go back 2 times into his yard. I felt bad, but yeah, no, we tracked that one behind coyotes, um, and we actually followed it all the way to a gut pile.
Mm,
And the hunter said he heard coyotes after he shot it, and then later on in the day he heard the neighbor shoot, and it was right on the edge of his property in that neighbor's cornfield, whatever, 80-acre cornfield. Um,
right.
so I think the neighbor shot it and gutted it out. But I think coyotes were chasing it when he shot, to be honest, because we had piles of hair here and there, and yeah, yeah, that was a cool one. So, uh, you do a lot of training, or you do a lot of just letting the tracks train the dog?
I do quite a bit of training with both dogs. Obviously this was just my first year with the Wirehaired Dachshund, but as soon as the snow comes off the ground, me and my lab we're out training. Like I'm always trying to meet my dog where she's at, just to stay up on it. We not only do the deer tracking stuff, but my lab is also a pheasant dog as well. So it's kind of nice to have that versatile breed, and it's nice pheasant hunting around here because I hunt on a game farm where we buy the birds and stuff, and there's plenty of birds out there to hunt. So I mean, it's it's tracking. It's just live tracking, and usually a bird, and she's a flusher. She don't point or nothing like that. But I'm working on some forced fetch with her, trying to get her to hold a little bit better. She doesn't bring birds back to me all the way just yet, but she loves pheasant hunting. Like she loves tracking deer. She does. Like she gets up to a deer and she has a blast. But pheasant hunting, she goes nuts for it. She loves chasing
Her
birds.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, we even got done with a track this year, early in the year, and I anytime we get done, we're on the way back to the truck. I take her off lead and I just let her be a dog. Like you're done, you did your job, girl. Like you go right ahead and do whatever you got to do. And I remember we're like three-quarters of the way back to the truck, and all of a sudden she just got birdie, just super birdie. Like she was tracking again, and I'm just like, what are you doing, girl? Like, and all of a sudden she gets underneath this pine tree and a woodcock flushes out of there. I was like, huh, all right. Well, I guess you just can't turn it off. So we do the pheasant hunting, and then right in May, starting in May, going right up until deer season, we do fast cat with the AKC. So that's a 100-yard dash for dogs. And last year we took 80th place out of 500 laps. Her eye average for her three fastest runs was 26.7 miles an hour. So she absolutely loves the fast cat. I got a
Yeah.
couple shorts on my Facebook of it, and she's quick. She's definitely quick for a lab. Labs probably average right around 23 miles an hour, and she's up in that top tier 26 usually.
Yeah, so around me, I have majority of labs. So within 1 hour of where I live, we have about probably 10 trackers, and in an hour and a half, we probably have closer to 20. Um, that's a big reason we don't get a lot of tracks because we have so many trackers. That's not even including the drone guys. Um, but majority of them are lab guys, and they are fast dogs when they track, just in general. So I bet you like your dog's really booking it after doing stuff like that.
I half itch her.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say.
have to. I have to half hitch her. She knows as soon as that half hitch goes on, she's like, "All right, I guess I got to put the brakes on." Because yeah, she is quick. Um, the the where I lose her the most is cornfields. When I get her in a cornfield, I have to run behind her. She's
Yeah.
just a absolute just beast in the cornfield, and a lot of times I end up losing her. Like I never ever condone anyone letting their lead down or anything like that, and I never do. I just lose her, and I gotta call her back. We gotta stop, and
Yeah, I mean you let
cornfields
go leads
prior.
go around trees.
Right, and we let the lead go, and I don't just let her free float, but I try to find her. And last year I ended up losing her in a cornfield for 5 minutes, and what sucks is I think she was on the deer. The hunter ended up finding the deer about 3 weeks later in the corn, right where I was 30 yards away from it. So
Mm.
I ended up, I mean, I had to call her back with her e-collar, and when I got her back, I restarted her on the line. She took me back to that cornfield, and yeah, that's probably one of my biggest learning experiences. And I didn't have a GPS collar yet, which now I do. I have a GPS collar for not only my lab but my Wirehaired Dachshund because I don't ever want to lose my dog, first of all, but second of all, when it comes to them cornfields and stuff, you almost gotta.
Yeah, I don't. Luckily, I don't track a lot of cornfields. I've hit a few, not a whole bunch. They're hard, man. Cornfields, and like especially if you get like a thermal drone and start looking at them, man. The how much heat they hold and like how that affects the scent. I bet you that scent's like a lot higher. So like your dog's behavior is gonna be probably faster with head up. Makes it harder to read, and then they're going in and out of those rows so quick. They're bouncing between them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, they're those are hard situations. That's a hard lesson to learn too, man. When you leave one in the woods like that. I called my dog off my pit, I guess last year. We were probably 80 yards from the deer. Um, and yeah, I called her off, and like I'll never forget that track. I learned a lot from calling her off. Um, there was a creek. I guess it was a creek. I don't know what to call it. It's a spot with water that had like a trench dug out, and it was the nastiest water you could imagine. It was really gross stuff. So I just wouldn't allow my dog in it. And she indicated to me the deer crossed there, and she did it 2 or 3 times, and I was like, hey, dude, I just want to push her up and down here and see what she does, but we need to find a way across this creek, and I'm not letting her cross that spot. So we finally crossed the creek, and I run her across the edge, and the pit has a really good head snap. So it's one of the favorite things I like. My favorite thing about that dog is when you come up on a line, she looks like she breaks her neck. I mean, that turn of her neck is like, there's the line. I know she's on it. That's something I can trust. Um, and she never gave me that behavior on that line. Like when I went across her, like never. And so I kept on doing it over and over again and pushing her different directions, and just nothing was committed at all. Um, and then she finally takes this line, but it's on an open foiler trail. She has a thing about open trails where like she'll leave a line and just walk it for ways. And I've learned it with her. I think it's a lot of we just did do so much hiking when she was younger that, and then like she doesn't like to track the 2 mile, 3 miles. We've recovered plenty of deer at like a mile long. But like I had to really, really work with that dog to get her to do that. Uh, I mean, a pit bull is just not bred for tracking. So if she didn't think she could get to that deer quickly, crittering, all these problems would start to emerge. And on that deer, we were already, I want to say like 1,400 yards in. So we were a ways, and he kept on saying that he double lunged it. He still, to this day, he still tells me he double lunged it at 1,400 yards. Um, and well, come to be, that deer walked that foiler trail for 100 yards and died. And I just didn't follow her because she didn't have that head snap. Um, and like it's something that I guess in the moment, like I'm like, if she's not head snapping, like that line's not here. I solely focused on that behavior being my go-to in that situation, and I never saw it. And I watched the video probably 4 times, and 4 times she took that line, and usually her recalls are like amazing because I dropped the lead on that one as we were talking, just sitting there talking. And even as we were sitting there talking, she took that line as we like I was just talking like, hey, dude, I don't think your deer's dead. We wouldn't be 1,400 yards on a double long. Uh, and like she kept on venturing that way as I was talking to him. So now I've kind of put that in my pocket that like if my dog's trying to go that way as we're just taking a water break or sitting or hitting, I need to go that way for a little ways more. Um, but it was just yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess you get things stuck in your head like, oh, this is, Al Sherman. He was never say always and never. I forget how it's worded. I'm butchering it.
Never say never, never say always.
That's it. Yeah, that one right there. And like after that happened, dude, it just that hit me because like I was like, oh, if there's the lines here, she head snaps. If the lines here, she head snaps. She's not head snapping. I know, and it's yeah, shot myself in the foot. So, but the hunter's neighbor found it about 4 or 5 months later. So he got the head and all that stuff. He's got a European skull mount of it. Um, and luckily that one, I say luckily, I still feel bad, but that was for a friend from high school. So he was a lot more understanding than I think some of the other hunters might have been. And that was the very, very first deer I ever left in the woods. So I think that's also why that one hit so hard. The only one I've ever left with the pit bull. Now the hound this year, we had some troubles. Technically 3, but I only really count 1. One was property lines, but the deer actually circled back onto his property on the other side. So when we hit the property line, I was like, dude, this is the way, like, we need to go through here. And he's like, no, we're not going to get permission, blah, blah, blah. So we called the track. And that deer ended up just doing a big circle and coming back to his property and dying. So like that one, I kind of like, yeah, I don't know. And then another one I tracked 2 days after 2 drones flew on it. And she tracked it for a while and then lost it. She lost the scent. And he found it, I guess, probably 400 or 500 yards past where we lost the scent. But we gridded the crap out of that property with I called in another tracking dog, and a lab actually, and we gridded together. We sectioned it off and we gridded that. We knew it was dead. It was liver shot deer. We knew it was dead. But even with gridding that much, we couldn't find it. So yeah. And then the last one was the one she messed up on, and I'll never understand it. I can only blame Rut. She tracked that deer 900 yards step for step. And then within 100 yards of the deer, she makes a left turn. And I don't know why. I restarted her 3 times. All 3 times she made a left turn. The only thing I can think of is it was her very first rut track ever, and another deer coming through smelling like rut went that way. Um, and that's the only thing I could think of because yeah, I mean, why do you track it perfectly for 900 yards and then just abandon the line? But that's a first year pup. I mean, she's what 9 months old, 10 months old at that time. Like, it sucks, but I don't really hold it against her too much. You know, just more training tracks and more seasons, and she'll get over that kind of situation. Which I think by probably 3 tracks later, she understood. Putting the pieces together a little more. But yeah, that one bothers me because this hound, she's a very good tracker. Like she training track wise, I never seen her come off a line. We went from like 2 hour old lines to 4 to 8 to 16 to 24, all within probably a week and a half. And like she never came off a line ever. Like in training, she never came off a line. And then we went into our season, and I kind of regretted it because I was so focused on learning online behavior versus offline behavior. So if she's on, this is the behavior I'm looking for. If she's off, okay, I can restart her. Well, during training, I never saw these things. Well, because I never saw these things during training, and they're gonna happen in the real world, I didn't. She didn't understand restarts. If I restarted her, she thought I told her that that's the wrong deer. So like I had issues there, and then we didn't have we do Wi-Fi's like the head snap for the pit. If we ever hit a weird section, we'll kind of swing the dog in and out, and she didn't understand it. She didn't understand any of these tools, you know. So and again, most of our deer we recovered that were dead, and then the ones we didn't came back on camera. It's a property line. It's just the one's the only one I really blame her for. Um, but yeah, no, it was a rough. And I only ran the pit behind her on like 3 tracks. Um, the pit's losing her nose. She can't track in short fields or like she can't. She'll hit a field and
Hmm.
start eating grass and freaking. It's not like she's given up or crittering. It's she literally cannot track through that stuff anymore. So that's heartbreaking. That's
I
heartbreaking to watch your dog not be able to do what they love.
I know.
So
I left one deer in the woods this year that's gonna haunt me forever, and it was because of total outside control. It was our first call of the year, and we did a call earlier in the night with the wiener dog because one of our buddies actually texted us and said, "Hey, do you mind coming out and taking pictures?" Because my wife's a photographer on the side, and he goes, "Do you mind if you come out and take pictures of me with my buck because I want to propose to my girlfriend tonight with it?" And my wife's like, "Yeah, I'll come take pictures, but you got to let my dog track your deer." He's like, "Absolutely." So we had that call first, and then I got another call after that to take my lab out on. And so, long story short, we got to that track pretty late. It was like 11 o'clock at night, early season, dark's right around 7 o'clock. And it's 11:30 now. I get on the track at about midnight, go through my spiel and stuff. And this guy shot this buck with a crossbow. Buck was facing him. He went right through the back. He said, I think I made it out its chest. I'm just not 100% sure. He goes, I got no blood. We're in this pretty thick swamp. So start my dog on the line, and she's just like, this is her first line of the year. She's all about it. I mean, again, I would have followed her to the end of the earth because I knew there was a dead deer laying there. And we go about 450 yards, and we get in the back corner of this guy's property, and it's just this little low hole spot. Super calm that night. And we're in this swamp grass, and Daisy's up on her hind legs, like sniffing, nose, head in the air. We're not progressing any farther. She's just head in the air. I'm just like, this deer's got to be right here, and I just can't see it. We do a few loops in that area. It's super hot out still, and I'm like, there's only so much gas in the tank for her. Like, this deer's right here, so I'm gonna restart her on the line. So I get on the radio. I radio the hunter because I usually leave the hunter at the shot site. I said, "Hey, I'm coming back. I'm gonna restart." So come back to the start of the line, give her a break, give her some water. I got all the time in the world. So we restart her on the line, and about 60 yards into the line, we're walking over this log, and all of a sudden my dog just starts like kicking and jumped up in the air. I'm just like, what's going on, girl? Like, did she like tweak her paw or something? And all of a sudden I heard buzzing. And before I knew it, I was getting stung by bees. I mean, left and right. So we run out of the swamp. I'm trying to grab Daisy as I'm running. Her leads getting tangled up. I gotta go back and grab her. I go back, grab her, get stung again. I finally get her out of there. I got bees in my shirt. I got stung about 5 times. And once we get settled down, the uh, the hunter like gets on the radio and was like, "Hey, are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just ran into a beehive." And I look down, and my dog's holding her paw up in the air. And I'm like, I called the hunter, and I'm very disappointed because I go, "I'm sorry, dude, but first of all, I gotta watch my dog tonight." I said, I'm gonna go probably sleep in her kennel with her, make sure that she doesn't have an allergic reaction. And second of all, pretty much all my family members are allergic besides me. And when you get stung 4 or 5 times, like I've always heard that you always have a risk of it. So I said, I gotta get
Right.
home and watch myself. So the guy was super understanding. The guy was really, really nice. Like I was just super disappointed because I was like, that deer's got to be in that swamp. So I gave him phone number of a couple other guys. He reached out the next morning. Guy came in with his dog, and he has a drone. But he's like, I think this is a good one for my dog. Ran his dog. Dog ran the same line as me, and I was 10 feet away from the deer. About a 170-inch buck. Would have been the biggest buck by far I've ever tracked. Just super cool, unique rack. I was pretty disappointed that I didn't find it, but I was really happy for the hunter that he was able to recover his deer. That was super cool, but it was sucked because it wasn't because of my fault and it wasn't Daisy's fault. It was the bees, and I never would have thought at midnight I'd ever get stung by bees.
Right. And not only that, but like you don't really count I don't really count that as leaving one in the woods because you didn't give up on the search. You didn't you had a situation where you had to leave. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's a lot different. Man, that's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I
A
definitely had
10
some
feet
cool
away
stories
too.
this year. Yep.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
sounds like she was pretty.
oh, she was
Go ahead.
so on it. She was legs up and just she's like, I know it's right here. And if we would have went back to that area and she couldn't have seen it, I was gonna bring the hunter over and say, just start walking around right here. Like the grass is so tall and thick, I can't see it and Daisy can't see it, but it's here. I would have, but I just didn't get the
Right.
opportunity to.
I had one similar my first season after training the pit, and I was on the phone with my mentor going like I need help, bring another dog out here. I said we've tracked this deer. It was total from hit site to recovery was 800 yards as the crow flies, but the deer went back and forth because coyotes chased it. Um, and when we were basically where it died at. We were walking around, and I'm like, dude, you need to get your dog out here. She's acting crazy. We're finding blood everywhere, just all over the place, and we got hair everywhere. I don't know what the hell's going on. My dog's dumb. And he goes, dude, it sounds like you're in a scent pool. And I'm like, I'm not in a scent pool, all right? Like, I know I'm not in a scent. And as I say that, the hunter literally goes, there's my deer. And we were standing 2 feet from the deer in some tall grass and literally walked past it 3 times. Had no clue. Yeah, he just got the right glimpse to see it. So that was a pretty funny one for me. Uh, but yeah, man, that tall grass can be tricky, especially for like a newer handler, because your dog gets real sporadic in those scent pools, that close to a dead deer. And I couldn't read it. I was like, she's crittering, she's this, she's that, she's dumb, and the whole time she tracked, I think it was a total of like 1,300 yards to that deer, with the zigzags and everything. And she was on it. She knew, it's just because I was dumb and didn't know what she was trying to tell me. So, what's it like
Right.
tracking in a swamp?
It's not fun. Where I live, I'm not in a swamp. Like I would say within 10, 15 miles of here is not a swamp. We are in dry, blow sand country, pine plantations, oak flats, like the most beautiful, gorgeous tracking conditions. But
Yeah.
I get them calls where I got to go to a swamp, and Wisconsin's pretty diverse in our habitat, so I'll take anything I can get, but tracking in swamps is not fun. It's just not. It's very unfriendly. You run into puddles and you run into the hummocks that trip you up from all the clumps of grass, and what
Mm.
sucks is maybe your dog's just a little bit off, so you're going around bushes that you weren't supposed to go around actually, and it's different. But you just make it work, and you have fun with it, and you learn a lot from it. And I
Yeah.
try to tell everybody that I track for that you don't remember the easy ones. You remember the hard ones.
Yeah.
So I definitely learn a lot more from the hard ones. It's different, but I mainly track around my house. I typically limit myself to about an hour, hour and a half of travel, depending on the situation. So a lot of what I'm tracking is pine plantations.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wonder about like other tracking terrain and stuff like that, and like how dog behavior is, and I always it's like I went to a few events last year, and you hear these guys that are coming to test, and something I've heard a lot of people say is their dogs don't perform on a test like they would at home. And these are handlers who I think have plenty of experience to like not get the true test jitters and like mess their dog up. And then I start hearing some like real veterans of the sport say, if you don't give your dog time to accumulate to the area, they kind of suck at tracking. Like, oh, take your dog for a walk in the woods, or go do something before you take one of these tests. And so like I'd love to travel and track. I want to track multiple species, and we just don't get a lot of tracks where I'm at. So I kind of want to do like a track vacation and get some more tracks. And I know this dog right here will probably be my best tracking dog I ever owned in my life. I will never own another hound. Sorry to the hound guys, but I will never own another hound. If she wasn't a good tracking dog, I'd return her, and I'm not even kidding.
Oh man, I think the
Yeah,
same about that Wirehaired Dachshund, man. He's a menace. Oh,
really. Even though I hear that they're pretty grumpy kind of dogs.
he's not grumpy. He's the friendliest dog. I mean, he's an absolute sweetheart, but I swear he just lives to press my buttons in the house. Ugh, just if there's something to get into, he's in it. Like before I
Yep.
can even think about it, and he's a they bark. Anybody that's interested in getting a tackle, give me a call. I don't want to talk you out of it. He's an amazing tracking dog, and at just under a year old, I swear he came from the factory with 2 years of experience. Like we
Yeah.
put him
Yeah.
on about 10 tracks this year, and that dude crushed it. I mean, he crushed it way better than my lab did when she was his age. Like he's got it, and that's the main reason why we're keeping him. Otherwise, he
Yeah.
was just. I mean, I got a just under a 2 year old at home, a baby, and that wire hair dash sounds almost more to handle than my kid is. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
No, the hound
something.
is more than my kid. I got a 1 year old, and that hound is more to deal with than my kid, man. And I will say, like, I understand now when people say get a tracking dog you can live with for 9 months out of the year, then track the rest. Um, and like, she's a sweetheart. I mean, she's a sweet dog, listens to commands very well, very trainable dog. But like, you could be sitting next to her, and if she wants to do something bad, she's going to try every 3 minutes. And you can redirect her,
Mhm.
leave it, come here, whatever, and she will redirect very well. But that one time you're looking over your shoulder or looking at your phone, she's already in it. And it's like, I've told you no
Mm.
18 times. Why do you think the 19th time you can do this? But that's also, I think, part of the reason that they make good tracking dogs. So, because I've tried to
Right.
joystick this dog and train it, and I don't think you can really joystick this. You can tell her no, you can tell her to leave the line, um, but you
Mhm.
cannot. I can walk parallel with her, and she's staying on the line. Um, and a lot of I've seen a lot of dogs that you can't do that with. You got to be, a handler has to be aware of how they're handling their dog, and she does not care what I do at all. So I don't know, man. She's probably gonna be my best tracking dog. From now on, I'll just have an okay tracking dog and a good pet.
Yep, yep.
I'm not
That's what
just.
you got to do. I, I, uh, I have heard though that these wire-haired dachshunds, if you're gonna get one of them, you have to get two of them because they'll feed off each other and they'll have fun with each other, wear each other out. I could probably see that. Um, I wish my big dog played a little bit better with littler dogs. She's kind of an only like one person dog kind of thing, so she's not really friendly with my littler dogs that I have in the house. But um, this dog loves to play with other dogs, man. He's fun and he's friendly. Like, don't get me wrong, but yeah, we put him on some decent lines. We actually took one track for the public this year with him. I brought both dogs on this track. It was rifle season. Guy said shot the deer, lost blood, don't know where it went. Just it. I shot it. It started walking in this direction. We've grid searched it, and I can't find it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna run my B dog first, and then A dog's coming in after. So got to the track at about 9 o'clock at night, and uh, put our little dog down, and it was funny. They're like, "You brought that thing to track deer?" I said, "Yep." Like, I get the weirdest looks when he comes out of the truck, but we uh we put him down on the side of the food plot where that deer exited, and it took him a little bit to work out the line. Like, I could definitely tell the hunters were getting nervous, and then all of a sudden he just went, and he went on this line straight in the direction that they said the deer went, and I just followed him. I didn't see any blood. We only went like 150 yards. He did a little J hook, and there the buck was laying. Like, that stuff's super cool. I That was probably definitely one of the more rewarding tracks of the year, but um he's got it. We just got to work on probably a little bit more time stuff, a little bit more distance. So we definitely got to slow him down. He used to be a little less confident, so he'd work a line real slow. Now he doesn't. He runs lines. Did I lose you?
Lost connection. See if we can get him back. All right, I think we're good to go again. So you dropped the tackle on the one in the public where we were.
Oh, okay. So I get a call. Guy shot this buck with a rifle. It headed to the edge of the food plot, stopped, started walking. They grid searched for a little while and called me about 6 hours later. So I grabbed my lab and my tackle, and I try to always put my tackle down first, my B dog, because if he finds it, perfect. If he doesn't, I always got my A dog as backup, and she can definitely work through his scent. We've definitely trained on that. Um, so we get to the food plot. Guy had a little bit of hair on there, not really a lot of blood, and he said that deer headed in this direction. So put him down. He starts working out the shot site. He's kind of going in circles and circles and circles. I could tell the hunters are kind of getting nervous, and we end up heading right in the direction the deer went. We're going through these pine rows. It's a paper mill pine plantation land, so they're all pretty short. It's pretty open in there, and we only went like 150 yards, and all of a sudden that wiener dog just made a right hand turn. We kind of J hooked a little bit, and right behind a pine tree, there's that buck laying there dead, like stone cold
Oh,
dead, and like taking that dog out one for the public and having him find it right away. That was probably definitely one of my top five tracks for the year for sure. Um, Seeing him work is great. I was always worried about crittering. A lot of people before we got the breed, they're like, these dogs critter. They love rabbits. Like, just make sure you try to train on it. Like, put a frozen rabbit on your track and just call them off of it if you're not going to run rabbits. So I'm like, all right, well, we didn't really get a chance to train too much before deer season, so a lot of our training was just right in the field. I shoot quite a bit of deer with my bow. Um, live in a pretty high population area, so I get a lot of good practice tracks for all my dogs, and we uh we had a track this year during rifle season. Guy shot two does, lost blood, and on the first doe, we're working our way through another pine plantation, and I can see right at the base of this tree is this rabbit, and I could see the blood trails going right by it. And we're about 100 yards into the track, and I'm like, well, I guess this is a good test. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. And that dog could have cared less that that rabbit was there. That was one of the coolest things to see is him just run right past it, kept on that blood trail, and 80 yards later, here we find that doe laying. So
And
that
how
was
how
fun.
old was he during the season?
7 months.
See, I have the hound. She was like during season 9 to 11 months roughly, and then one of the other guys here, actually two other guys also have pups, the two lab pups, and we were all talking the other day saying that I feel like 9, 10 months and younger, those dogs are so focused that you could probably pass a UBT3 pretty easy. Like that's probably an exaggeration a little bit, but like it seems like at that age, like the job itself, like nothing else matters. And then you hit that 1 year, year and a half, and it's like, wait a minute, there's more to this world. And like that's more when yes, they're better trackers, they can handle harder situations a little better, I think. But like distractions, I think actually take a little longer to really, really. So I'll be interested to see like if this summer or next year if rabbits start to become a headache. See what your experience in that is. You know,
Right.
because like the
But
hound, man, like our first like those training tracks I was doing with her, man, she was like just rocking everything. Like just I mean, we passed UBT1 and UBT2 on the same day, like without a problem. Excellence, all that crap. And then, season hit and there was headaches. And I was just like, adolescence, her first heat cycle, all this stuff too. But yeah, I know. So we were all talking about it. One's got a female and one's got a male. So I'm gonna see what they say because they're a little bit younger than my hound. As we continue, but yeah, so I'll be interested to see if he starts messing with rabbits more. How do you think you're gonna handle which dog to pull out when you got two dogs doing really really well?
um, it's probably gonna depend on number of tracks each of them had. It'll definitely depend on terrain as well. Um, with the wiener dog, he can get through the swamp. He can. We tried it. We got called to the swamp this year, and I said, Bree, we got to try it. I want to see him. If he fails, we'll put him in the truck. Like, not
Yeah,
an issue. And but Daisy she's just longer legged, and she's easier to get through the water and stuff like that. So, um, if they're both running good, you just kind of don't play favorites. Daisy's always gonna be my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. Like, my lab's
yeah,
great, and I love her to death. And she just treats me a lot nicer. So kind of gonna depend on who's on my good side too. Like, it's her feelings are definitely reciprocated. She's a good dog,
right.
and she's very nice and obedient to us. But Moot, he's just, oh man, that dog is something else. He
They're
he ain't for
frustrating.
the faint of heart. If Like, it is not made for a normal dog owner, that's for sure. Like, we have four dogs. We got two dogs that are little, that are our couch dogs, and we love them to death. And then we have our two tracking dogs. And if you don't own dogs, don't get a working breed.
Yeah, yeah. You're not wrong, man. Like I don't know. I've listened to a lot of these veteran trackers talk, and something that always stuck with me is I heard more than one say this. I'd ask them like, which was your favorite dog? Like, tell me which one's your favorite dog, and they'd always say, my favorite dog or my best dog, because they're not the same thing. My best dog was
Yep.
never my favorite dog, and like as I got Emmy now, that I like, I get it, I get it, like. And like my daughter will love this hound because the hound's so affectionate and lovey, and like they are attached to you. You know, it's like this will be my daughter's like childhood dog who she's just glued to. And I appreciate having the hound for that situation just because she is so like I don't think I ever have to worry about her at all.
Mm-mm.
So like that's a cool part of her too. But man, she is just so frustrating. But yeah, I don't know. It's different because like I hear some of these stories about like new handlers and like them like not training a whole lot and still crushing a season. And when I had my pit, I'm like, how do you not train a lot? And like you're okay, you're kind of full of crap. And then you see a dog who's fourth generation tracking DNA and bred for it, and it's like, oh, this is how you had a good season, and you're a handler who doesn't understand anything.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of handlers who come to our Missouri event who have no trackers around them to train with, so they're just trying to find people on YouTube to follow or read the book. But without a mentor, you can only get so far. So I'll talk to these guys, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I did 2 training tracks, and then my dog did 100 real tracks and found 45 of them." I'm like, "How?" But you get the right breed of dog from the right people, and it's a huge step forward. It really is. So do
It,
you have
it
any?
was definitely a difference.
Yeah, yeah. You did it take you a little bit of time to read the Teckle easier or different than the Hound? Like behavior wise on tracking?
Um, so it was kind of funny because early in the year, our tackle was so like timid and on a track, but almost like methodically timid. Like he worked very, very slow. Like my wife's first real track with him was posted on my YouTube, and it like I watch it back and I'm just like, what happened to that dog? Why is he so timid? Like, because now like we just tracked one here during our holiday hunt that we run from Christmas Eve till New Year's Day. I shot a doe, and that doe ended up going like 650 yards. It was pretty crazy based on the hit, but that that dog took me 350 yards right to that first bed, and he runs the whole thing. So like he's almost changing the way he tracks as he's getting older. So I think I'm gonna have to start reading him different. A lot of it was for me was tail movement, as I could see, because he was kind of working the track like a snake, and every time he get back on it, I watch him. He shake his tail, just a little bit, just something very very subtle. He shake his tail and then keep it straight, and it's like, all right, we're on it. Like, and he was another one that just he doesn't get off a line, and it's awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely gonna have to probably change the way I do it, and I'm gonna have to slow him down. Like this dog wouldn't even walk on a leash like before it started getting cold out. Now that it's cold out, I put him on a leash and he wants to pull me around like a freight train. Like I gotta put a prong collar on him if I take him for a walk. Otherwise, he's trying to choke himself out. Like I'm a very, very firm believer in prong collars. I used one on my lab, and she walks like a champion in heel.
Mm-hmm.
So like some people think they're kind of controversial, but I just look at it as another tool.
Yeah, if it's used right, it's not. I didn't use one until I got into tracking. My pit is just a naturally well-behaved dog. So I never really had to use a prong on her. Now, once I started training her for tracking, I went to the prong because I was kind of educated on it basically. And then I only use the vest for tracking. You want to differentiate what's for work, what's for not, and all that kind of stuff. So I did switch the prong. I never had a reason to or need to. Now the hound, I have to use a prong if we're not tracking. She tracks a little slow majority of the time, so I don't really need one on her when she tracks. She's still timid. I think that she'd be a really good bay dog, and because it's almost like not like she's timid if something's like a scent pool or something kind of comes up. But most of the time, she's not timid while tracking until she hits that big thing of scent. Um, I don't think she'll ever be the kind of dog like my pit was, where she wanted to like jump on a deer. I think she just has that bay natural instinct. But I've also heard, kind of go back to what you were saying, um, from a lot of people who's been doing this for a long time, is every single year your dog will change its behavior of tracking. Now, it might only be in one situation or one type of this or that. And I really account to it as like the dog gets more experience. They don't need to do as many, circles or as many this or many that to figure out what's going on. But I have heard that, like, your dogs will change year over year what you see in the same situations. So, like, you almost have to relearn certain things every single year.
Mhm.
Um, which is kind of cool because there's a yellow lab here, it's my mentor who's helped me a lot, and I've watched him go from year, I think, two or three to like year five now. I think he's on year five with this dog, and the dog's basically going into autopilot at this point. Like he doesn't have to do anything, and I lay a lot of tracks for that dog. We run together a lot. He lives 15 minutes away, so like we run all the time, and I get to see it just in practice tracks from when like I lay a like let's say I lay something that crosses a road and I use a very little amount of scent, so the dog's got to work, right? Um, and like the dog will hit the road, and on the road the blacktop or gravel has less scent just because of the wind and blah 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 blah, right? And like before, the dog would try to figure out like bracket it, and this that dog hits a road today, she just goes across the other side. She ain't even gonna spend a second on that road. She's like, I'm going right over there and figuring this out. Or I lay a scent pool and she'll hit it and she won't even enter it. She will not walk into a scent pool I lay anymore. She just walks the outer edge and looks for the exit. Like she is like, I'm not walking in that scent pool. And like so it's so cool to see a dog in those advanced stages how they change the way they work the situations. Like I don't know. I my pit never got to be like that good. I trusted her to find almost every deer we went in the woods for because she was smart enough. But to see the advancement like that, I never got to see. So with the hound, it's going to take 5, 6 years to see that true autopilot type. 7 years to see that autopilot. So, but watching it in the other dogs has been a real privilege. It's really really cool. Let's see here, I have a whole bunch of questions. Um, how many have you ever had a time where you had to step in and help the dog when the dog was truly just struggling?
Um, I mean, a couple times, you watch a blood trail go one way, she tries to go the other. I think a lot of times she likes to cut corners when I
Yeah,
don't even
being a
realize
lab.
there's a corner. Yeah, she's so fast. Where I probably mainly when I step in was just to slow her down. Just we gotta slow down, and I struggled a lot with that last summer. We did our UBT one and two. We did one in the beginning of the summer and our two at the end of summer. And on our UBT one, she struggled, and it was because we were barreling through the woods, and I was just so used to it at that point, and we ended up passing by the skin of our teeth. But the judge was like, "You gotta slow down, man." He's like, "You're gonna wear yourself out, and you're gonna wear her out." He goes, "That's where you struggle the most." So we slowed things way down. Um, where I see her struggle, especially with slowing down, is open fields. Like some dogs critter, but like with my lab being a pheasant dog, when we get in an open field, she gets more excited because I think she just sees freedom. Like there's just
Right.
more room to roam and do whatever she wants to do. But that's kind of where I struggle in is different terrains, different features, stuff like that. Creek crossings is where I really need to help her out. She's a Labrador Retriever by heart, but she treats water like a cat sometimes. I mean, she
She
gets
don't like she
real.
don't want to get in the water.
She does not really.
Wow.
I do some water retrieves with her. She retrieved her first duck on the water this year actually. So it
That's
was cool
cool.
to see it, but I did have to convince her. Like she saw me shoot a bird and it land on the water and she was going nuts and I'm just like, you can go get it, and she went in and got it, but she's definitely not your traditional water driven lab, and that's something we're working through.
Yeah.
I plan on doing a little bit more swamp training this year just because of that. I want to work on creek crossing stuff. Like, um, people always ask me like, how do you train a dog to do this? And where should my dog be at? And I said, I don't care what age your dog is. Like, it doesn't matter what age he is or she is. Like, you just need to meet them where they're at. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going out and you're crushing every line that you're laying for your dog, that's great. And it's awesome to see your dog do it. But now you need to increase the difficulty. Increase the
Yeah.
difficulty on you and the dog, because I would say 80% of your training is handler based and 20% is dog. And like crossroads multiple times, go across a creek, uh, maybe let it go 36 hours. You gotta train like you track, and some of these calls I get are 2 days out, and you try your best, and it might not always work out, but it's training. Like
Yeah.
there was a dog around here, a Bavarian that I heard found a deer after 4 days in grid searching. Like that stuff's cool, but it's all training based. Like you gotta
Yeah.
put your
Yeah.
dog in them difficult situations, and I'm not saying set your dog up for failure. That's not what I'm saying. Like, don't run your dog all the way until failure, failure, failure. Just test your dog. Like, hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna go through this super nasty thicket and see if she's gonna want to go through it too, or is she gonna want to go around it because she's lazy, or she knows that
Right.
it's on the
Yep.
other side. So, I mean, if I were to give anybody a piece of advice, it's constantly test your dog, but don't test them to the point of failure where they get frustrated with it.
Yeah, if you are testing your dog, you need to back off, every other track or every two tracks, or, break it up for sure. That's what I did wrong with the pit. So we did 3 years of no training, and she actually was a great tracking dog with no training, considering. But I was just an idiot. I mean, I didn't know anything. I was tracking liver shots at like 4 hours. I just doing a lot of things wrong. Um, and then when it was time for training and testing and like trying to figure this crap out, if she wasn't step for step on a line, I was yelling at her. I'm like, you're dumb. Like, come back over here. And like, now I know sense not where those steps are. So like, you got to give them a little room to work. And in that process of me being a douchebag to her, it killed her drive to track. So going back to, you can't, yeah, it's got to be fun. So if you're making it too hard too often and you kill that fun side of it, they're not going to want to do it. But I got the pit to track again with the advice of other people. I just kind of fed into her wants, DNA wise. I showed her that, no matter how long the track is, no matter how hard the track is, at the end of the track, you get to like tackle and tear up a deer hide. Like this, like you can tear an arm off if you want to. And once she figured out that like, oh, if I go a mile and find it, I can rip the leg off. Dude, she was okay. I'm willing to do this now. But I had to show her that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, she wasn't a dog you just, which at first I think she was, because the first season she did a bunch of double lungs.
Hmm.
But then when I killed everything, it was definitely a downside. Um, yeah, the training side of things, I'm actually a firm believer in using quite a bit of blood. Now, granted, I do say this a lot. My dogs can track with just hoof. Like that is important. I will always say that also. But I think if you add a lot of scent, it forces your dog to be more of a complex thinker, because the more scent there is, the more scent's being blown around in the area, the bigger the scent pool, the bigger the struggle is. And I see a lot of dogs also, or not. I don't see a lot of dogs, but like, how am I wording this? I see a dog who shows up to track a deer. I've heard these stories, and they won't track blood. That's literally right in front of them on the ground. And these are dogs who've basically never trained with blood at all, and they're so reliant on that hoof scent. And like, even if that deer's not dead, and like the dogs tell me the deer's not dead, I don't want to like look like an idiot in front of a hunter. Like, if there's blood on the ground, I want my dog to track the blood. Like, at least give me a show, you know. So I do go to hoof only, and I do it occasionally, but majority of the time I train with quite a bit of blood. Probably more than the testing. And I'll do gaps, let's say 50, 60 yards with no blood, and then all of a sudden there's just a pile of blood everywhere, you know, changing it up consistently in that sense. But yeah, I mean, everyone does training differently. People were commenting that on my Facebook post the other day because I just got 6 gallons of blood from hog blood, and they were like, "That's a lot of blood." I'm like, "Yeah, it's about 200 practice tracks this season."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we're
I'm I don't train with blood.
no, not at
No,
all.
I not at all. I we did a little bit in the beginning, and then I just went right to hoof only when I could see that my dog wanted to go from scent drags and blood. It was from scent drags and blood to, hey, let's see if she can do hoof only. All right, she can do hoof only. We're gonna stick to hoof only, and just
Yeah, yeah.
like I said, just meeting her where she's at. And I get some buddies that'll give us some good slam dunk tracks, and then like this last year, I shot what, eight, I think 8 deer with my bow, and
Mm-hmm.
then any of the other slam dunks I would get from people for training stuff. So we got a lot of good friends that have used our dogs when they absolutely needed it. So they're more than happy to give us the ones when they absolutely don't absolutely need it. So
Right. Yeah.
that's always good to have. So
Yeah,
we
I think
do
that
get that mixture of blood and stuff. Like I can definitely see where my dog will stop on blood, where she'll like stop and start licking the blood because she's very food
which I
driven.
encourage. Yeah, I encourage
Right.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I uh I do I do like that she stops and licks the blood and stuff, and that's great. But I actually during my UBT one we found the wound bed, and when we found the
Mm-hmm.
wound bed, I praised her a lot, but I almost praised her too much. I almost praised
Yeah.
her like we were done. So you got to kind of ride that fine line of how you're praising your dog and rewarding them at the end, and you got to make sure you don't do it in the middle.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
usually if my dog's like licking blood and showing me blood, I call it alerting to blood. I usually walk up to them because I want them to get used to me walking up on them when they're looking at something on the ground. I don't want them to take it as me pushing them off of it and pushing them forward. So it's something I try to train. I'm gonna work on the hound actually this season with it. I'll actually tighten that leash and like walk up to her during training and then kind of pet her on the butt. I'm like, good girl, and then like just continue. But that's the extent of the praise. Like, good job, you showed me. That way, if there's one speck of blood at 800 yards, hopefully they stop and show me, and then continue on. Yeah, I mean, most veteran teams I think don't use blood for training, to be honest. I kind of look at it as the fact that veteran teams, a lot of them are running 100, 300 tracks a year, and this year I did 21. But I have so many people around me, it's hard to get a high amount of tracks. So if I don't train a lot, I feel like my dogs will never be as good, or I mean, my dog's probably still never going to be as good as these dogs that are doing 1,000 tracks in their lifetimes. But like for me to have a decent, good dog, I got to do as much exposure as I can. So like I'm showing them some weird stuff at blood. There's been times I do like hoof and then hoof and blood and then just go to blood only and then come back to hoof just to see if I can see behavioral differences.
mhm.
I just nerd out on it. Just like, would you ever be able to tell in a real life track um, that you have blood and then hoof goes away? Will you be able to read that your dog's telling you it's just blood now and not hoof anymore? Um, I have no idea. I don't know. It's just fun things I try. I don't know if it's hurting or helping the dog, but I just enjoy being behind my dog in the woods. I try all kinds of weird crap. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, whatever works for one guy might not work for the next, and it might work for somebody else. That's what I think any good dog trainer does is don't just follow what one person says. Take a little bit of what everybody says and just make it work for you and your dog, and you know, tailor your training to what your tracking style is going to be.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
huge
just
one too,
very,
right there.
I'm very, very fortunate where I live in a state where there is a ton of deer that get killed. I mean, Wisconsin's top three in the nation for high deer kills. We kill 300,000 deer a year in this state, and there's more and more guys with drones. There's seems like more and more guys run dogs, but there's still calls that go unanswered for everybody every year. Like, and living in the central farmland area, there's plenty of tracks to go around. There's a guy that was my UBT judge. That guy runs anywhere from 150 to 200 tracks a year. Um,
That's crazy to me.
another guy in the east, Another guy in the eastern part of the state did over 200 tracks this year. He's a dog and drone team. Another guy, a dog and drone team out of north central Wisconsin. They run, between 100 and 200 tracks a year. I mean, there's there's a lot of tracks to go around in Wisconsin, and it's fun. It's definitely a culture around us. It does seem like the culture of tracking is changing with the technologies that are out, whether it's a dog or a drone. It seems like people are just starting to get reliant on us. What's really bad to hear is I feel like people are taking more marginal shots because of the availability of somebody to track a deer. Um, I just believe that we owe it to the deer to try to dispatch them in the easiest way possible for them. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I tracked for a guy this year that shot at a buck with his crossbow at 72 yards. Like,
Yeah.
one guy last year 90 yards. Like, come on, guys. You know this isn't ethical, but you're
Yeah.
doing it because you know somebody can come and bail you out.
Yeah. We call it
So,
they shot it with their cross gun. Yeah.
yeah, like, and I don't want to, I give a lot of my buddies hard times that hunt with a crossbow. At the end of the day, do whatever makes you happy, and as long as it's legal, like, you're good to go. Just make sure what you're doing is ethical for the deer and legal, because I don't condone either one of them. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they're
Yeah.
pretty effective, and sometimes I've seen some pretty bad stuff with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've came across a few hunters. I had one this year that really upset me. Um, I almost didn't take the track. He basically told me on the phone that if we find his deer, he's cutting the head off and leaving it, even though the meat's good. He's like, I'm just and yeah, I'm not the kind of person who wants to call DNR and all this stuff. So I called a few other tracking buddies who I knew had good relationships with DNR, and I was like, hey, just see what their thoughts on this are. The deer was suspected gut shot, and conservation said um, in this particular situation, it's hunter's choice if the meat's good or not. So if he walks up to a gut shot deer and it just stinks, he can just say the meat's not good, and that's legal. Um, so yeah, I called the hunter back, kind of explained to him my thoughts on it, and I said, "Here's the deal: you can keep the head. You're gonna tag it in front of me, and I'm taking the meat." Um, so we went out there and tracked it. Um, I didn't see a single drop of blood, not even at the hit site. It didn't rain at all, so like there should have been blood somewhere. He shot straight, according to his story, he shot straight down with a crossbow, straight into the spine, right where the guts were, and came out the bottom of the guts. Um, Arrow was completely clean, nothing on it, and there was no blood anywhere. Um, and we tracked. She was just real like search behavior majority of the time, and 3 restarts. She finally took a line, and she went all the way to a bed where we had quite a bit of hair, um, and that was it. Like that was yeah. And I was like, I don't think you hit guts. I was like, if you hit straight down with a crossbow and a mechanical broadhead, and you went all the way through this deer, you'd have something at your hit site. And of course, oh, I hit it in the guts, and da da da. All right, have a good day. But yeah, I just yeah. When he called me, I couldn't believe I don't understand, especially telling somebody over the phone that you don't know that you're gonna do something like that. To me was kind of wild. But yeah,
Now, do you carry peroxide with you at all?
oh yeah, yeah, a bunch. I sprayed that bed with the hair, and I had one spot that bubbled up. Um,
Okay.
but she never took a definitive line out of that bed. And then we could hear coyotes all across the island. We were on an island. Um, but again, like it was never good tracking behavior. Never. Like, and that bed was pretty far away. But it was hard for her to get to that bed. Um, she probably took 2 or 3 lines before taking that line. So I don't know what the situation was. And that guy said he shot another buck like 3 days later and couldn't find it all. So I was kind of irritated dealing with him. I said, call a different tracker. So yeah, yeah. I don't think we left that one in the woods. I wonder if he actually went down the side of the deer, um, considering that he had the hair everywhere, like he kind of did. I know crossbow bolts are usually not uncommon to be extremely clean after going through a deer. Um,
Mhm.
and I did see a little bit of fat on that one, it seemed like, but I feel like if he went straight down like you thought and went through the guts, you'd have something. You'd have an exit hole right below that deer. We'd have some blood. We'd have something there. So, but yeah, no. And like, how many gut shot deer where they're like hanging out the bottom like that does your dog not track well? At least for the first, 300 yards.
Mhm.
So, like that. So I really didn't believe that deer was dead. Um, so I don't know. I need to text my hunters and see if they've got all their deer back on camera yet. I haven't texted everybody yet. Kind of been lazy about it.
Yeah, I
So
followed up with
actually,
most of mine this year, actually, and quite a few reached back out and said they got him back on camera. I had 10 calls in a row this year of all 4-inch penetration, 2-inch expandable in the shoulders. And by the 10th one, I was just so beat up. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm gonna come out. I am. Like, and don't take this the wrong way. The chances of us recovering this deer are low, but I always appreciate anyone that's willing to give me a call to do everything in their power to find their deer. So
right.
I'm gonna come try. So I mean, yeah, we had 10 in a row where we never found them, and
That's hard.
I'd say about 3/4 of them came back on camera.
Yeah, yeah. And see those shoulder shots. And actually, a side note, I actually flew my drone on one or two of them, and I started realizing what we call shoulder shots a lot is actually like high backstrap shots, like
Mm-hmm.
real high backstrap neck almost shots. I guess that'll give that loud whack because the hunter said he had that loud whack on that one also. But like one thing I do like about those shots, I don't want 10 of them in a row, but your dog looks like a superhero a lot because they usually track those for very far. Either it's real short, 100 yards and deer's completely fine, blood goes away, or it's like 2 miles and just a droplets of blood here and there, and your dog looks like a superstar for tracking 2 miles or a mile. Um, but I don't want 10 in a row of non-recoveries.
Oh, it's so bad. And most of them were that, like, 200 yards of blood dried up, and it was crazy. The moment that blood
Yeah,
dried up, my dog was like, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah.
I don't know
And,
why I'm here.
and that's a great example too of like someone who doesn't train with blood, and your dog had no problem following that blood. Because I bet that hoof scent was gone way before that blood was. You know?
Probably.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, she just would turn around, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I think your deer's still alive. Like, please let me know if they are, or if you see it, or if your neighbor sees it or shoots it or something like that, then just let me know. But yeah, it's frustrating, especially during the rut. The rut is just so hard. Um, I'd say probably this is a pretty good story of uh why I really dove deep into tracking is in 2024 I shot a buck that I was after for 5 years. Um, I had a lot of history with him. This was my fourth encounter, third time drawing a bow on him. Like, I've got more pictures of this deer on camera than I've got of all my dogs combined. Like, this deer loved the camera, and it was super cool to watch him grow all the way till he was 7.5 years old. And that last year, I didn't get any pictures of him. Wrote him off. He's dead. Like, this is my first year with my tracking dog. Like, I'm just gonna track. Like, I'll just shoot some does late season. Well, I told myself I'm gonna take one day off for rut. I'm gonna take a day off during the week where my neighbors aren't up, and I'm just gonna wait for the perfect weather conditions and just go way deep in an area where I know I'm gonna see rut activity. And took a Tuesday off, got in the stand super early, had a full lunch packed for the whole day, and got in the stand, watched a buck bed a doe right away at daylight, buck that I was probably going to shoot, and I tried calling him in all day, could not get that buck to break off that bed of doe. It was so cool watching him all day long, and 2 o'clock rolled around, and all of a sudden I see another buck walking through the pines, and here he comes. I look at him with the binoculars about 100 yards away. I said, holy crap, here he is. I'm looking at him. He's 22 inches wide at this point. He's got 13-inch G2s. He's giant.
Wow. Yeah.
I've grunted at this deer before, but the last time I grunted at him in the open area, and he was just like a tom turkey where he came into 80 yards, didn't see another buck, and he just turned away and walked away. So I had to watch this buck, this 180-inch buck, walk right into the woods on my neighbors, and as soon as he got into the woods where I couldn't see him, I threw him 3 grunts, and that buck came bolting out of there at me.
That's so cool.
Buck comes running at me, walks right downwind of me at 12 yards. I squeeze the shot off. You can see the shot on my YouTube. Like, behind the shoulder, maybe a little low, maybe a little back, but like, I've killed deer with this shot before. Like, deer runs off to 70 yards, stops. I'm just like, fall over, fall over, fall over. Like, come on. And all of a sudden he starts walking away. I lose my mind for like 2 hours. Like, I'm calling my family members, just like bawling my eyes out. Like, I just shot him. Like, this is insane. Like, this deer's huge. I got it all on film. Like, I I had my dog ready. I called the drone operator. I said, hey man, like, do you mind coming out tonight if I can't find this deer? I said, I just want you on call. I said, I'll pay you $100 just to be on call. Like, he goes, well, I really got to leave for vacation in the morning. He goes, I'm going to Kentucky to go hunting. I'm just like, I could really use you. I said, I've got the shot on video. Let me send it to you. I send him the video. He looks at it. He goes, oh my God. He goes, I'll come out tonight. Don't worry about it. Like, really? He goes, yep. If you can't find that deer in the first 150 yards, call me. This will be the biggest buck I ever find. Like, all right. So I waited 6 hours on this deer. Like, sent the video to all my buddies. My buddies are like, Billy, this deer's dead. Like, he mule kicked so hard. You could see in the video his legs were straight up and down. Like, I thought he was gonna fall over face first. And after 6 hours, I put my dog down. She starts tracking this deer, but she's tracking it like really weird. And there's blood everywhere. And I'm just like, come on, girl. Like, it's going this way. And she's just tracking it different. Well, I already talked to my neighbors, and they said, I don't want you running the dogs. It's November 13th. It's the Thursday before the last weekend before rifle. Like, I don't want your dog on my land. Like, it's nothing personal, but we're going to be hunting this weekend. I said, that's fine. I got a drone lined up. Not an issue. We track it right to my neighbor's line. Call the drone operator. He's in there 15 minutes. We fly the drone up. Deer's 300 yards away, bedded with a doe. So, as soon as we hit him with the spotlight, buck stands up. Never moves, but he's head up. His tail's wagging. I'm freaking out now because I'm like, this ain't good. drone operator's like, Billy, I really gotta go on vacation in the morning. He goes, you got me for 15 minutes. I said, all right, sounds good. So I meet him out there before daylight. We get back up with the drone. Deer's gone. Like, it's pouring rain out. My neighbors are like, just go to his bed. Don't grid search, just go to his bed. Went, could not find blood in his bed. Now I'm freaking out. I call a different drone operator in. He didn't get there till 1 p.m. We located the deer. He was 120 yards north of where we were, standing there with the drone, like with the drone operator, generator just running. We're in an open
Mm.
field. He's just over the knoll. He's 900 yards away from where he was the night before. Like, and he's chasing a doe.
Yep.
And at this point, I'm super disappointed because I'm like, this deer's just gonna live. Like, I got pictures of my exit, my entrance. It's behind the shoulder. It's mid body. It's everything you want in life when it comes
Yeah.
to shooting a deer. He just didn't die. Buck ended up living 2 weeks, and he got shot by a rifle hunter about a half a
Yeah.
mile away.
Mm.
Like, um, the reason I tell this story is because of this ending. So my buddy sends me a picture Tuesday rifle season, that Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. He sends me a picture of this buck in this hunter's hands. And I was really disappointed, but I was also happy in the fact that I got some closure to this story. So I knew the landowner where the deer was taken. So I called him up. I said, hey, do you mind if I come see him? And they're like, absolutely. Like, we want you to come out. So I come out there, like, I first like congratulate the hunter, and then I went right over that buck, and I'm looking for my arrow hole, and here it is. It's almost healed up. Like, everyone's like, I didn't even notice that hole. I go, what did his lungs look like? His liver, like,
Yeah.
did everything look fine? Like, I'm trying to like do full CSI on it, and they're like, everything looked normal. Like, this deer was just fine. Like, he was chasing a doe. I'm like, all right, like, so we get invited to this into this guy's cabin. We start talking with him or whatever, and um, just long story short, we're talking with the hunter, and at that point in his life, and at that point in mine, that guy needed it more than I did. I think everything happens for a reason, and I think sometimes guys get like fully enveloped in deer, and just it consumes their life and their feelings, and you just get so obsessed that you just kind of block out everything else and you don't realize what you got in front of you. And
Right.
I can tell you right now, I'm glad I didn't get them. I learned a lot. I gained friendships. I got way more out of not killing that deer and doing a grip and grin with him than I would have doing a grip and grin with him and celebrating. Um, I'm glad he's got him on the wall. I got to do everything but kill him. I mean, there's
Right.
not many people out there that can hunt a deer for that long, put an arrow in them, track them with a deer and a drone, or a dog and a drone, and just not be able to kill them. But I still got to put my hands on him. The deer didn't go to waste. He didn't
Right.
just get,
Right.
rotted away and eaten by squirrels and coyotes and whatever. So
Yeah.
I try to share that with everybody that I track for, and I show them the pictures because I want them to be humbled like I did and say, hey, these deer are tough. There's zombies in the rut, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So I've always heard like 300 yards double lung deer and all this crap, and I'm like, yeah. Until I see it, I'm never gonna believe it. Well, I saw it. We had a doe, and like usually it's a buck, like a big buck. That's kind of hear the stories on. One of my regulars, um, and like the guy's real nice. First time I ever tracked for him, he had like no money. He was like camping out at public property, new to hunting, just $20 to his name kind of guy. And we made good friend. Like he's a really cool guy. So now usually I tell him $20 I'll come out because he hunts real close to the house and everything. Even though he's got an e-bike and trailer and all this crap now, he's fully devoted and into it. So he shoots this doe, and he's like, "Hey, you busy?" I'm like, "I'm coming. It's free. I'm coming. We're coming tonight." And he's like, "Well, let me tell you, if I need a dog or not." I'm like, "I'm coming either way, dude. Like, I want my dog. Like, this puppy needs to chew on some more deer. Like, I'm coming." So I thought I was gonna get me a double long hand me down track, and then he texts me and he's like, "Dude, I just jumped this doe." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, she just took off on me." So he waited, I think it was an hour or maybe even 2 hours to get down from a stand. She went just over this hill, it's probably 75 yards at most, and bedded down, and he bumped her. And I was like, well, let's give her, by the time I get out there and get everything together, I said we'll be at like 4 hour mark or something. Like let's just do that. And he was like, that's fine. So I go out there, and uh, the puppy takes the line and takes me right to the bed, and uh, it was probably 2 degrees outside. It was so cold, probably our coldest track of the year. So her tracking behavior was kind of sporadic. I'm just thinking everything was kind of freezing on her, but she was making progress down a line, and we went, I think it was like 300 and something yards at the check the lineage again, but like 350-ish yards. And I even pull her back and restart her because I'm like, she's standing on a tree that fell over into the creek. Like it's uprooted. So there's like three branches, three major trunk branches, and she's trying to like balance on them and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're just being dumb. Come on, like I'm pulling you back. And we didn't see blood from that bed to that point. So what's that? 275 yards, no blood, no confirmation, which is not out of the ordinary. But having a young puppy and going through adolescence, I was already questioning her. So I restart her again. She takes me to the exact same spot. I'm like, all right, for a dog who'd never understood restarts till just now, like maybe this is a good sign. So I start looking inside the tree. This doe must have been walking the edge of the bank and fell over as she was walking, like fell dead. She fell in underneath the tree into the creek, and the tree was holding her there from like being swept away. Um, so the hunter is all excited and everything and pulls it out, and sure enough, his arrow is high double lung, and we pull, open everything up, and both lungs were collapsed. Not sure if they were when he shot and everything like that. The only thing could think of is, on the what exhale or whatever, when the lungs got smaller or shrinked in, maybe the arrow went in or something. Yeah, I don't know, but like he went through the lung cavity on both sides, clear as day. Like there is no doubt, and both lungs were collapsed when we checked. Um, so I was gonna bug Eric Peterson at the event and see what his thoughts were on it, but because he's kind of my anatomy guy I go to, but yeah, dude, like, and it was a small doe. Like, I always hear stories about big bucks going crazy, crazy distances and everything like that. But little bitty doe, middle of rut, 330 yards, jumped at 1 hour. Like, yeah,
Mm. They're
yeah.
tough. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that one that I did this year with the rifle, that was 650 yards. It was it was one long it was no double long liver guts because I shoot a 30-06 with Hornady SSTs, and they're just nasty little bullets that just cause havoc. And I shot her, and she ran out in the field, and I was just like, oh, she's gonna tip over. And she stopped, looked around, put her head down, and started walking. I'm like, come on, just fall over already. Like, I don't gotta throw another round at you. Unless she just walked into the woods, and I'm like, I know I hit her. I know I hit her.
Right,
And it rained all afternoon. Just downpoured rain. So at that point, I could only run my wiener dog because my lab ended up getting anaplasmosis for the second time in her life. And the vet said 2 weeks, no tracking, no pheasants. So she was on bed rest. So the wiener dog was coming out in 30-degree weather with rain because he does not do as well in the cold as she does. And he lasted about 45 minutes when we found that first bed. And I found 12 different beds on that track. Like, I was like, I'm looking at this blood in the snow because right after we found the first bed, he got way too cold. The wiener dog started shivering. I wasn't gonna put him at risk. Like, I put him in the truck, let the truck run. and I came out there and just tracked it by hand, which I haven't done in a long time since you got tracking dogs, you know. And like I'm walking through this pine plantation, and it's like every 8 feet I'm finding a bed, and I'm like, what is going on? Like the blood is way into the snow. It's not like sitting on top. The blood spots aren't small. They're really big. Like you got to read your blood too, because people would have taken that as, oh, I'm just kicking her out of her bed. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, no, this it looks like a slushy where that blood made its way all the way into the snow. Like she's got to be dead, but just not right here. And I just kept progressing farther from bed to bed to bed. And at that 650 mark, she's laying there. And when I gutted her, she was cold. Like I was only about 5 hours after shot, and I think she probably died within the first hour.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a few things there. That's kind of funny. So I haven't hunted much before tracking. I think probably my first year tracking with no training was like my second year like legitly hunting. So like tracking with blood, like you're saying there, I have no experience in that kind of crap. Like I rely on the dogs. Like that's so like I think that's the reason I do so much blood training too in the off season is because like I really want to learn as much as I can with the scent and the way it moves, and like just be a better handler. And I research all the thermals and all this kind of crap. And like you said, like realizing if is a blood clot coming out of the deer and hitting the ground, or is a blood clot forming on the ground? Because it's two different situations there, right? So like I've
Mm-hmm.
been learning all of this stuff and like trying to educate myself because like I don't have that background. Um, and then, what do you, as a handler with experience, and I feel like more people who come from the hunting side of it before tracking see these things. Um, let's say 70% of the time, if you find 10 beds all close together, that's probably a dead deer. It's a deer who can't get comfortable and he's getting up and laying back down and getting up and laying like something's not feeling right. Um, I think it's a little more rare to find a lot of beds on a deer that lives, to be honest. I had it on a shoulder shot, but that deer was bedded one time right next to a creek in a bedding area, and it'd get up, get a drink, and then bed back down. Then get up, get a drink, and like it just did a circle and bedded in different. I mean, the bedding area was probably 10 yards wide, and it just had a different bed and all around that, which was interesting. But that's the only time I've ever found a lot of beds on a track and did not find the dead deer. So like again, like you said, reading the ground, reading all that stuff, that handler side of it really does matter. Um,
I I had one this year that I tracked that it was during the late muzzleloader season, so we're talking first week of December. It was cold. It was right around that 5 below when I went out there and tracked this deer. Tracked it up to a creek. Didn't have permission on the other side of the creek. I gridded his area just to be safe, to make sure the deer didn't double back or something weird. I could not find any other sign. There was fresh snow on the ground, so like if he was moving around, I was gonna see tracks, and I just didn't see anything. And so I backed out of there and I called a drone operator. That's the dog and drone handler, and um he went up and he found that deer, and he watched that buck for 5 days up and down out of his bed. And on the fifth day, deer acted like he was completely fine. Ended up living.
yeah,
So I mean that just shows like there's so many different unique situations, and I tell
yeah,
everybody that I track for too is deer like fingerprints. There's no two alike. You can make 100 different double lung shots. Every one of them is going to run a different direction. Every one of them is going to run a different distance. Every one of them is going to have a different amount of blood. It doesn't matter. There's no two deer
yeah,
the same. There's no two shots that are the same, and you got to go in with an open mind. You can't just be like, I've made this shot 1,000 times. This
yeah,
deer's just
yeah,
gonna go from point A to point B. It's like,
yeah,
nope,
yeah.
never.
I always try to use it as a probability, but like it never say never, never say always. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One of our trackers here always says, he tells his hunters, this is the first time this deer's ever died. Like, this is the first time this deer's ever been dying while walking away. It doesn't know what it's going to do yet, you know? And I kind of like that quote too because they're like, oh, this deer's going uphill, it's not dead, and well, let's just follow the dog a little bit.
Yep. I
Yeah.
like that.
So
I gotta keep that one for sure. It's the first time this deer's dying, huh?
yeah, yeah, I like that one a lot. So yeah, actually, another one we talk about like handler experience and how handlers really help. I had a track with the pit 2 years ago, I think it was. And she was tracking a line, and then there was at one point where it seemed like she had two lines going different directions, like behavior wise. We had a line going straight, and then we had a line going left. And as a new handler, I like, and especially in the moment, I'm like, dude, I don't know. I was like, we just need to follow both lines, and like we'll restart her, and like both lines looked like great behavior. Um, and the line going forward basically just dog lost it, right? Like search behavior at one point, no blood. We didn't have blood either direction, honestly. Then line to the left was better behavior until she gets into a valley, and she's just like it was almost like she was search behavior slash like just struggling to find it, but like eager. And like I pushed her up and down the valley, pushed her all kinds of places. And I finally called the track. I'm like, man, I think your deer's alive. I was like, I don't know what's going on over here in this valley section. And like we're talking like a large, huge valley, and she's crazy all through it. Um, and so we finally call it, and I call my mentor on the way out and explain it. He goes, dude, there's a dead deer on that hill. He says that whole valley is a simple, the entire thing. He goes, your dog just can't. And he's like, even if there's not a line going in, like if your dog can't find the line because there's just so much scent everywhere, he goes, you need to go back there. Like you need to have that hunter go grid search that valley. So I call the hunter. I'm like, dude, this is what my mentors are saying. Like, go check. He finds a dead deer up there. Not his deer. It was dead for probably 2 weeks. The neighbor shot it. Um, and I think that's also why she was struggling because I think she hit that line it went in on, and then I think when she hit that scent pull of it, she followed the stronger scent down the hill and never could find the line again. And then when I was pushing her all different directions and stuff, we never pushed high enough to the left, basically high enough to one side to find it. It was almost the very, very, very top of this large, large valley. It was probably a 110-inch little buck, and we were looking for a 170. And
It's
yeah, so he
never the other
actually,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he actually seen his deer that same day. I said, if that's not your deer, I said that's that line that she went straight on. I said, just if you're really that interested and worried, so just go grid search that way. I mean, like he had a lot of property. And actually, I could try and find the picture. I'll try and text it to you. He jumps the deer inside of a cave, and the deer comes running out. Like, so it wasn't like a deep cave; it was like a bluff, and probably like a 6 foot overhang. And the deer was underneath the cave or underneath the hang in like a sandy material. Said it scared the living crap out of me. It was like 3 feet from the deer. And it takes off running. And he sent me a picture of sand just full of blood, like it was a blood clot full of sand. He's like, he's alive, he's alive. I think he shot at him one more time that year and still didn't get him. He missed a second time on that deer. Um, but yeah, yeah, it was really cool to get confirmation that we didn't leave a dead deer in the woods, and it was also a great learning aspect of like, I'm glad we didn't leave his deer in the woods, but I also learned that like in this dog behavior in these valley situations, you really gotta push even further because those valleys can fill up so far. Like it was a very long valley, but that deer was dead for 2 weeks in the sun, so I'm sure it just stunk. That I didn't smell it personally, but I'm sure the dogs could smell it, for a ways. So yeah, and she's not a lab, man. Labs can wind. Like I I I used to kind of be jealous of that. I saw it with the hound for the first time this year. I laid a line for a yellow lab, and we were probably 80 to 100 yards from the hoof. I mean, a single hoof. That's all it was. Um, it was higher than us. The hoof was. We were a little bit lower. Wind was in our favor, like coming towards us, and like his dog was on the line and just stops and picks her head up, and he goes, "She smells the end of the line." And I go, "There's no way in hell your dog is smelling the end of this line, dude. Like my pit can't do it. Like point blank period. I've never seen my pit be able to win something that far. Especially a hoof. Like no. And he goes, no, she can win it. And he has a really cool command. He goes, he goes, do you want to cheat it or get back to work? And then basically it means if you're cheating it, you can go winding. If not, nose the ground, figure out the line. And he told her, he goes, put your nose down. And she followed it to the end. And then sure enough, there was another time we did another scenario where he goes, you want to cheat it? And she cut the whole turn. I mean, just nose up, eyes closed, just straight to the end of it. And I was like, and I seen my hound do it for the first time this year, our second to last track. I haven't posted that video yet. She was going straight, and I think she cut the whole J hook out, the entire J hook. And like the really cool part about this one is the buck was in the creek, and there was like a 6 to 7 foot ledge. We were above that buck, so like the fact that there was enough scent in the wind to blow it over that ledge and for her to catch it, like that was pretty cool. I've never experienced it with the pit, so like experiencing the wind scenting now with the hound, it's just something I really like look forward to and to see more often. It's impressive what these dogs can do. It really is.
Yeah, it is. We found a couple dead deer that way. Some of them weren't the deer we were after. I remember we had a situation last year where we were coming back from a track, and all of a sudden she just head snaps and just starts going. I'm like, all right, we're doing something here. And about 100 yards away, here's a dead nubbin, and I'm just like, this, because on that track, not only did we find that dead nubbin, the neighbor shot a doe the same night as the person that I was tracking for shot a buck, and they both ran to the same area. Not only did they not tell me about the nubbin, I didn't hear about the doe until I called the neighbor because I knew the neighbor, and I was heading towards his land, and he goes, "Yeah, well, we shot a doe that ran that direction." It's like, okay, like I'm already an hour and a half into trying to find this deer, and I finally ended up calling it because I'm like, I'm sorry, there's just too much going on. I don't think my dog can decipher it. I said I've ran both my dogs now. I don't want to be out here just spinning circles. I said, I know you called the drone operator before I was here. You might have to see if he can come back because we have a general direction now. Because that's kind of another thing that draws me to that running that drone is if I run into a property line, at least I have a direction. That's way more
Yeah.
information than some other drone operators that are just coming in on one where I shot it here and it went in this kind of direction. Well, I can confirm a direction and then work off of that. Like there's a lot of great drone teams here, but running the dogs and the drones is cool. I got quite a few inclement weather ones last year, and one of the biggest bucks I tracked this year was an inclement weather one. I ended up jumping it, and that's a story for another time. But 155-inch 10-point buck for a 13-year-old girl, there ain't nothing that beats that.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, that was one of the cooler
Yeah.
ones of this year too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, it's a lot of fun. Um, I suggest that anybody that's on the fence about it, try it. Talk to your
Yeah.
talk to your local tracker, get a hold of them, ask them questions. Pick their ear. I try to tell everybody that is looking to get into it to talk to somebody close or call me or whoever because the thing about trackers is we always like helping people. So
Yeah.
we're usually
Yeah.
open for a phone call, conversation, bounce an idea off. So try to talk to your local trackers. Go to an event, look at YouTube. It's all super good information and not a ton of people like to keep a secret about it.
No. And not all. A lot of people have different styles of tracking. So like if your advice that you're getting is you're not great with, ask another tracker because like everyone runs their dog differently, and it's just the truth.
Hmm.
Now I think most of us all get very similar things, but not everybody runs their dog the same. So like I've gotten advice that I'm not a strict handler. Like my obedience is not that great. As long as you can sit, stay, and heel when I ask you, and not even heel walk, just heel to me. For safety reasons and stuff. Outside of that, you can be a wild dog. I don't like So like, and there's guys who their dogs can't walk 2 feet in front of them without permission. So like you just got to find the people that make sense with you too.
Hmm.
I'm not a good enough trainer. I'll be honest with you. I'm not the. I don't know. It takes time to get a dog to be really that good. You know, yeah. But reach out to people. Where can they find you? YouTube, you said, right? YouTube,
Yep.
Facebook.
Yep. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I'd say I'm probably most active on my YouTube. I post a lot of shorts, some funny shorts, some educational, some me finding deer, pheasants, fast cat stuff. Anybody ever has any questions, they can reach out via text, email, phone call. I mean, I'll I'll help anybody out that's willing to get into this. It's fun. It's
Yeah,
worth it. It's expensive. Like, ain't nobody out there becoming a millionaire doing this. Like,
yeah. You're
as
not
much
making
as you
money
think somebody is.
tracking deer.
No, you're not. It envelops your life. You sacrifice a lot of time from hunting, but uh, in the end, I'd rather go track somebody's deer and watch their smile on their face and have a smile on my face for myself. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You get to
it's
be proud
fun.
of your dog. That's
Yep,
the best part of it, man. Seeing your
yep,
dog be happy is like seeing your kid be happy. So
exactly. And the number one compliment in the world is I'd have never found it without your dog.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like when you hear
That
that,
doe
that
underneath
makes a guy feel good.
that doe underneath a tree. I mean, we went 300 yards for a doe that we thought was going to be a layup, easy track, and he's like, I never would have found this without a dog. And it's just like it's a little bitty doe that's smaller than my dog, and like it's still the best feeling ever. Like
Right.
you know, yeah, it
Yep.
doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-mm.
So
My dog doesn't know if it's 300 inches or 15.
yeah, yeah. For sure. Well, I appreciate it,
So,
man.
no,
I'll be
thanks for having
interested to
me.
see. I'll be interested to see your future with the teckle and the rabbits and stuff like that. I really am curious to see if he starts trying to bite on them a little bit. So I'll be following your channel, man. I will.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. So, yeah, everybody give me a follow, like, subscribe, comment. I mean, I try to stay as active as I can. I might dip off a little bit during the fall, but I try to pick up in the off season, especially turkey hunting
Yeah.
coming up here too. I'll post some turkey hunting stuff. So,
Awesome.
thanks for having me.
Awesome.
You take care, and I'm sure this won't be the last one.
Of course, man. All right. Bye.
Bye.